Good morning. So, I'm trying to stick to my schedule of having more serious topics on Tuesday and Thursday, but every now and then I have a day like today that I'm kind of far out of ideas sometimes. I'm sure I'll think tomorrow I'll be like, with 50 subjects, and be like, I can't believe I couldn't think of anything yesterday, but that's where we're at. So I figured I would kind of go through more or less what I do for my makeup, because I've had people ask me before kind of what I do to my face. More specifically my eyeshadow, because I've learned over the years how to get color to show, because I don't know if you know this, but I'm a little brown, and so color doesn't always show very well. So I've had to figure out how to put a lot of color on my face so that it shows. So yeah, I'm going to go through that, and if you have questions or you want to know some of the stuff I'm using, or you want me to do this again, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, this might be the only time I do that. Probably not. I get fart out of ideas sometimes. So I try not to do it with my face, only because I'm trying not to put a lot on my face, because I have a tendency to get clogged pores really easily. So I try to limit it to very light makeup. So concealer, powder foundation, sometimes blush, sometimes highlighter. Sorry, Chris, this is about makeup. Good luck watching. One of the things that I always get asked about my makeup is why I wear makeup. And one of the most common follow-ups to that is always, why do you wear makeup? You're so beautiful already. It's like, you know what? I don't wear makeup because I don't think I'm beautiful. I wear makeup because it's fun. Also, I don't think most people wear makeup to be more beautiful, because I don't know, I've seen some pretty weird makeup thing that people do just because it's fun to do. And my favorite makeup has always been special effects makeup, and I learned that a little bit in high school, a little bit in college. And it's my favorite just because it's a lot of fun to figure out the things that you can do with makeup. You get to learn a little bit about playing with tones of color, and I'm going to try not to move my thing too much while getting brushes. One thing that I did learn, though, while being a girl and doing makeup, is that you kind of have to clean your brushes a lot, because it will collect old makeup, it'll get bacteria, and it'll collect dead skin and all that gross stuff. So you really do have to clean your brushes very frequently. If you don't use makeup very often, so like, I don't know, maybe I wear makeup once a month, every other month, then try to wash your brushes as soon as you're done, so that way they don't sit in bacteria. If you use your brushes very frequently, you're going to have to wash it as often as necessary based on how much you use. So I only use makeup, I don't know, a couple times a week. So I try to clean my brushes at least once a month, mostly because I'm lazy. If you don't know, I'm very lazy. Mostly because it's a lot of work to clean brushes. I've tried a couple different things. I have like one of those, where is it? There's so many commercials for it, of like a thing that you hold your brushes in and it spins it in water to clean them faster. I have one of those. I'm still lazy. So the basic reason I use foundation is never because I think that my skin is flawed. It's specifically because I have very oily skin, and especially if I'm going to be out all day. I'm a little bit allergic to dust, so I have a tendency to overcreate oils on my face. So it kind of creates a barrier and also absorbs the oil on my face, which is why I don't usually use liquid foundations. I only use them right around the driest time, so a few months during winter, because there's not as much moisture in the air and my skin gets really dry and it gets itchy. And it's not fun. Let's see. The fun part. I always have to pick which color I'm going to wear. But I think in order to kind of get my point across, you guys have seen some of the makeup I've done. Yes, I have way too much makeup, in case you're curious. Yeah, I'll go with blue today, because why not? So one of the things that when I first got this palette is I was a little frustrated with it because I couldn't quite get that much makeup on my face. And I'm going to show you a little bit with one of my brushes. So I have a lot of brushes specifically for eyeshadow because one of the things is if you use, like, say this brush for something like a nude pink or nude browns that you're going to put on your face, you're going to put some blue on it. So if you want to use bright, bold colors like this, you're going to have either separate brushes for them or you're going to have to wash them between colors. Which is why, if you've noticed, I have some rainbow colors. Like, you can tell I use this one for pink, I use this one for green, I have a yellow one in here. It holds on to pigment really well, which is nice, but at the same time makes it harder to clean. So let me get some here. So usually when I put this on my eye, I'm going to just kind of put some on there. You see how you can't really see very much of it? So the goal is going to be to put as much on your face as possible while having it stick, and it's trying dry powder on skin after you've already put foundation is not going to stick very well. So what I've started doing is I have this rose oil specifically for your face, and I use it to kind of wet my eyelids so that way it holds on to pigment better, and then it'll just dry on my skin without drying out my skin because it's moisturizer foil. That was another thing that I learned in all of my makeup classes is if you want makeup to stick to your face better, make sure you moisturize. And I didn't do it in this video, but I did it beforehand. I try to moisturize in the morning and the evening. So I'm just going to put a little bit of that. I didn't have quite enough on this one. And if you're like me and you have cats, make sure you put the caps back on all of your bottles of oil and stuff because they have spilled it before. Twice actually, so obviously I didn't learn the first time. So, and don't be worried if you feel like you're not putting enough on there, you can always put more. And another thing is if you're going to be using multiple colors, try to start with the brightest color because that way you can put more of it on there and have it stick better. Another thing that I found that is available is, I forget exactly what they're called. I think they're eyeshadow, like water. It's essentially gonna moisturize the eyeshadow that you have. You can see it's already sticking better. It pretty much turns your eyeshadow into more of a cream. And if you've ever used a cream shadow, it sticks a whole lot better. Mostly because it's more like paint than it is powder. And we all know paint sticks better. So if you have mostly creams, you don't really have to worry too much about putting something like an oil on the bottom, but I would still recommend you moisturize your skin ahead of time, just to keep it nice and healthy. So depending how dark you want to go, you can stop here, or you can keep adding. I've seen some people that will do one eye completely till it's done and then do the other eye. I like to do them at the same time mostly because I am terrible about making my makeup even. So I just like to keep going at the same pace so that way if I'm done with one side and I'm out of patience, I won't keep going. So there's a couple things you can do with brighter eyeshadow. One of them is you can just essentially color your entire lid and then leave it that way. And like maybe put eyeliner and some mascara or some eyelashes depending what you're feeling or where you're going. I've done it both where I just put one color and I just leave it on there. I've done it where I layer a whole bunch of colors to make a specific kind of look. And now I'm just trying to even it out because I can see, I don't know if you can see, where it's a little bit thinner. It's getting there. And also, one big thing, and if you've ever watched any makeup videos, blend, please. Blending is very important. Okay, so I've got the main color on, and as you can see, it looks a lot better. I've just kind of mostly, the rubbing constantly, it just helps even it out. It sticks a lot better, and you can kind of stop here if you want and just do like eyeliner, some mascara. If you want to do a more layered look, either with more colors or make it a smoky eye, you can. My biggest thing though is always be careful with darker colors, and I learned that the hard way because I love to use black. Why? Because I was that kid that went through an emo phase and I just want to use black all the time. My best friend though for using black is one of these. So it's a fan brush. If you've ever had them, they're very light and airy and very feathery. I've got several of them because they're my favorites. What they do really well is if you've ever used black, it'll sometimes dribble little bits on your skin, and I can kind of see a little bit from the blue, but it's not really that noticeable, and so it's not a big deal. And if you use nudes mostly, you probably won't notice any of the fallout dust, but if you use black, you almost assuredly will. So I'm going to keep going into a little bit of a smoky eye. Now you can do different colors to do this. You can use a darker blue, you can use browns, and so on. There's a lot of different colors. You don't have to use black. I just personally like black 'cause, again, I'm lazy. I want to use the minimum colors as possible because it's a lot of blending. So the way I do it is I start about as far as I want to go, and then I push it back to make a little V. So that way I can blend it out this way. So you can kind of see how I'm doing it. This is for more dramatic look, the one I'm doing, but if you want to apply this to like a light pink color with some browns, you can do it too. That would make a more natural smoky eye than this one. I like fun colors, so I'm using a fun color. I've seen people use these with like more nude purples, and I do have more natural colors. I just don't always use them, which this is probably one of my more used palettes. As you can tell, you can already see the silver on the bottom, mostly because they're natural colors, and I used a lot of natural colors at some point. I also have this one, which is also a lot of natural colors, but I'm a troublemaker, and I went and got this one and then followed it up with the wacky colors that I get, mostly just because I think they're more fun. They were also a lot harder to use. The nude ones, for the most part, you don't need as much pigment on there, but for these colors, if you really want the color to pop, you're going to need a lot of it, and so I had to learn new techniques. So I'm done putting black on. I can always put more on later, so again, less is more. I use a different brush. This is just one of my clean brushes that I'm going to use, and I'm going to have to wash it because I'm using black on it. But I try to use a bigger, fluffier brush that's still a little bit stiffer than, like, let's say the fan brush to blend, so that way it really does rub it in there, help blend it together. And I want to use a clean brush because I don't want to deposit any other colors on there. I really don't want to use like a red on here because that'll pop and make it purple and make it all sorts of muddy colors, and that's not what we want. Okay. One of the things I've always noticed is if you're going to use black eyeliner, use darker grays for eyeshadow so that way your eyeliner still comes out. The way I do black, I always like to fade it to a charcoal color because it's the same thing as the other colors. In order to get it really, really black, you're going to have to put more colors. It looks really black now, but once you blend it out, it's going to come out a little bit more gray. And you can do the same technique over again. You can put more oil on top of this so that way you can add a little bit more moisture and it sticks better and you can make it darker, but I don't want to look like I have a black eye. Okay. And you can see a little bit fall out, so that's what this is for. And I really do not recommend using your fingers to take off all of that fallout because all you're going to do is smudge it into your skin, and then you're going to have to take off all of your foundation. So, if it's your first time, I recommend doing your foundation after you do a dark color on your eyes. Only because if it falls out and you have to wipe it off with like a makeup wipe or something, you don't have like a spot that's a little different. you can change it up and put your foundation at the end, clean up your face even if it's clean and all of that stuff. There's also like little stickers that you can put that you can just peel it off, and that way if there's fallout, it's just paper. I've seen people use tape, and I just try to get it right on the first go around. I also use the fan brush in case I don't. Okay. So as you can see, it's no longer the dark black that we'd originally put on there. It's a little bit more chocolate gray, which is what I'm going for. And then I like to clean up my brow bones right here, just because I don't want a lot of black to be picking up. So I use one of these, these are my reusable makeup cloths. They exist, they work better wet, but I'm also not trying to take off a whole bunch. I'm just trying to lighten it up around the brow bones, clean up right here. You don't have to, but it's a personal preference of mine, just because I like a cleaner brow and a more distinct space. I personally have a lot of eyelid space, so if you're going to be if you have smaller lids, then you might not want to use quite as many colors. But again, that's a personal preference. I need to leave this out or I won't clean it. So that's about what I'm going to do for my eye color. You can add more colors, you can add a gray in between, you can add a little bit of a brighter like a highlight in there. If I was going to use one, I would probably go with this one, because it's very bright and it'll kind of highlight your inner corner. I'm not going to do that because I'm going to use eyeliner to do that. So I have a lot of different eyeliners, and I've had people comment on how I do a wing that's so long and neat. My secret is a very long eyeliner. So this specific one is Tarte. It's precision, it's long wear. But I like the eyeliner pens better than the pencils because I don't have to sharpen it. I don't have to worry about like the little wood pieces in case it starts to dull down. I do have one that I really like, and I usually use it for smoky eye to kind of make it smudge around here because this one won't smudge very well. There are the liquid ones that you can put in the unscrew ones. There's the crayon ones. I've used them all. These are my favorite only because they get cleaner lines, and I don't usually do smudging very frequently anymore. And if I do, I have one for that. So what I'll do is I'll kind of measure it out with this, because this is already kind of, if you can see it, more or less the shape of the wing that you want. So I'll start here, and I'll point it more or less where I want it, and I'll drag it out. And you can't really see it very well, mostly because this one's running out. But it's given me an outline of more or less where I'm going to go. And then I'll try to match it on the other side, which is always the hardest part. And there's jokes about it. That one went on a little bit better. Okay. Yeah, more or less even. Maybe I just need to do videos when I do my makeup all the time, because it comes on a lot better. Since that one's been running out, I've been using it less, but I like to use it to put my line on so I can see where it's going to go. And then I'll go get something else. This is another one. It's a little bit chubbier, so if you want a little bit of a chubbier wing, this is what's going to be your good friend. I really do have a lot, though. I have a makeup subscription. So, and I said that I liked eyeliner, so they add up. Anyway, so I like to, from right about here, pull to help tighten out my lid and your eye, so that way your skin's smooth. I can do it fairly quickly now, only because I do it so frequently. And you're just going to draw the line. Most people will feel more or less where your skin is folding, so you can follow it. And then I go back and I fill it in to make a nice clean line. And so since this went on pretty nicely, I don't really have to go back and touch it up, but I like to do it anyway. Just to fill in any holes that it might have, so that way it's a good, clean, even line. And so one of the really things that I've noticed, and it's kind of important, is that right around your lashes, you'll notice a little bit of skin there. And as long as it's not under your lashes, you're fine. But right along the lash line right there, it's really hard to get eyeliner in there. So you just want to, after you're done, look in the mirror. Make sure that when you're looking at yourself, you don't see that line. Because if it's under your lashes, like I said, like right there, you won't see it. You just see your lashes. But if you don't do it well, and I'm going to try to do it on the side, you'll be able to see very clearly where you haven't put eyeliner. And if that's the look you're going for, that's fine. But if it's not, always make sure that you let go and you look at it. Now, it's a little obvious when you hold it down where it still is, but I've done it before where I clean it up and I go and I notice in the car that there's still just a little bit left, and it's very obvious. So always double check your makeup, even if you've done it 100 times. Always double check it, because the one time you don't, you'll be out in public and you won't have eyeliner to fix it up. Cool. Alright. There's a couple more things you can do. You can fill in your eyebrows if you want. I'm kind of having a lazy day, so I'm not gonna. You can put some mascara on. You can put eyelashes on. It depends how much you want to dress up and how much work you want to put into it. I'm gonna kind of call it here because, like I said, I'm not really going anywhere today. But that's more or less what I do. You can top it off with the lip. My biggest thing that I've noticed is I always try not to do a very loud color on my eyelids or big eyeshadow thing, and then a bright lipstick. So if I put red lipstick on, you're gonna look a little goofy. If that's the kind of thing that you like, I mean, it's the kind of thing you like. But I try to pair up, like if I'm gonna do this color eyeshadow, I'd probably put a nude lipstick or something a little bit more natural, so maybe a pinker or a coral. If I'm gonna do more browns, nudes, natural colors on my eyelids, I'll probably do a really nice red lipstick or a purple lipstick, because I've done it before. And there's a lot of options. My recommendation, if you wear red lipstick, is invest in a lip liner. The reason for the lip liner is the same reason that we all use to trace the lines when we're coloring. It helps to keep the color where you want it. And so you go through, you can line them, and it gives you your border where you're going to stay, because a lot of us, it's really hard to tell exactly where your lip and your skin meet, where the line should go. So, and some of it's personal preference. Some people like to go just outside the line, or just outside, just inside, or right along the line. Depends how good you are. Practice makes perfect. Always have makeup wipes on hand if you're going to wear a red lipstick, because as soon as you get it outside the line or where you don't want it, you need to go and clean it up. Try not to smear around like this. You're just gonna grab it wherever you've marked it, just kind of short little dabs like that, so that way you're only taking off this one little spot as opposed to smearing it and then now you have to take it off all over the place. So yeah, that's more or less how I do very high pigment colors that I want. If I wanted this a little bit more natural, a little more subtle, I wouldn't have put the oil, because it'll just put a little bit on and it'll be more or less the natural color I'm aiming for. But since I did want to put a little bit brighter and noticeable, this is what I went with. And now it sounds like Blue is lonely because Marble's at the vet today, so I have to go entertain her. Thanks for listening.